This is from a client. The data is anonymized, but it's actual data. So this particular lender did about 600 cases in a month. And we looked at using that methodology of top tier, middle tier, bottom tier. We isolated each individual into one of the tiers. And interestingly, $62 is what was left after the revenue came in less all the commission costs. This is before covering overhead, compliance, secondary, etc. This is just what was left, which is why lenders are all, for the most part, not profitable today. But here's something that's really interesting. The top tier people produced 435 files and did it at about $2,500 of contribution profit to cover overhead, etc. So they made $1,064,000. The people on the bottom did 169 loans, but ended up losing $900,000 in the process. And the people in the middle kind of broke even. So if you're a lender and you're a CEO and you think about, oh, every loan, the next loan matters, it's just one more loan, even if a producer does one loan, that's true as long as all your other costs are fixed, but they're not. If you look and essentially right-size the productivity of the operational team, then it comes down to, do I have a top-tier producer, a top-tier processor, a top-tier underwriter, a top-tier closer? That gives me top-tier profit. And if not, you're going to have a really hard time making money over the next 3 years. If you give away 1/8 of a point or 1/4 of a point in rate, you're talking about $500, $600, $1,000 or more. And the difference between the top tier and the bottom tier is largely concessions. So if you're asking for concessions in a business where in a good year, the profit on a loan, on a $300,000 loan is $1,500 in a good year, it's not that today. And you are doing this concession, you're giving away 80% of the profit of that lender on every concession you make, because most producers tend to believe they're over in this top tier. But in reality, only a small number of producers in the top tier. And you've got to be really introspective to say, am I producing the volume? If you're asking for a lot of concessions, if you're always competing on price, there's probably something that you can learn technique-wise or professional development-wise. And Dave can probably help you a lot in this because it does make a difference on how you're perceived. And ultimately, if we're going to be at $1.7 trillion, $1.8 trillion, $1.9 trillion for the next 3-4 years, eventually companies are going to have to make decisions to deal with this bottom 50, 60% of the producers. So you still got time, but not much to really excel and move to the left.